Radio WFLA wants to help with a chance at $1,000. Text the nationwide keyword HOPE to 200-200. That's HOPE to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest. Beyond Reason Radio.
I wish I could give you better news, but I think you know the truth. And that is that we are now some 300 delegates behind Vice President Biden, and the path toward victory is virtually impossible. So while we are winning the ideological battle, and while we are winning the support of so many young people and working people throughout the country, I have concluded that this battle for the Democratic nomination will not be successful.
That was Bernie Sanders today, saying today what we all knew a couple of weeks ago, frankly, that he is suspending his campaign for president. He does not have a path to the nomination. It's over and done. The question I have for you, everyone is focusing today on, well, this is now Trump and Biden. Can Biden win? Is Cuomo going to take it at the convention? And yeah, we can talk about that, the interesting politics of the day. But the biggest thing I want to ask is, what is the legacy that Bernie Sanders is leaving for the future of politics in this country? What precedents has he set for politics in this country? And here's another question I have for you. What if Bernie Sanders was a Barack Obama? What if Bernie Sanders was as radical as he is, but wasn't an old white guy, but a young, charismatic person like Obama? Could he have won? No, Obama was pretty radical, but Bernie's obviously more radical. If Bernie Sanders was, say, a Barack Obama, would he have won? And what would that do? Good news is alert. Is next, so is suspended his campaign. So this is Beyond Reason Radio. I am your host, Michael Yaffee, the voice of reason in a world that is beyond reason. We're on until 8 p.m. tonight right here on News Radio WFLA Orlando, and you should be listening because what else do you have to do at this point?
That's right, nothing.
I mean, I know a lot of you are sewing sweaters for your cat or something, but you can turn us on your Alexa.
And making face masks.
Yes, exactly. I need a Beyond Reason face mask. We need to get those done. Can you get that done for me, Tom?
I'll work on it.
So that is Tom Benson in the control room tonight. How are you, Tom?
I'm fine. You know, I like the way these politicians who drop out of the presidential race always say they're going to suspend the campaign.
Yeah, I know. Why is that? That's a good point.
I guess it's putting a spin on things until the bitter end.
I guess. So, Elizabeth Warren and others, they suspended their campaign. Now that Biden's not doing that well, can they get back in?
No. Well, they probably could. That's why they suspended.
I mean, technically, could they do that?
Well, what if the leading candidate, no matter who it was, became incapacitated and couldn't run?
That's true.
So they could throw their hat back in the ring and probably do it again. The big new thing that I've heard was that Cuomo is being touted now as the VP nomination with Biden.
Well, originally they were saying president.
Yeah,
they would take it away from Biden at the convention, but now they're saying vice president.
I don't think they want to split the Democratic Party along those lines. So I think that kind of makes sense.
Not only that, but if they have a virtual convention like Joe Biden was talking about, it would be really difficult, I think, to have some kind of process where they take it away from Biden.
Yeah.
They would want to streamline that. So that's kind of interesting. Everyone says he needs a woman, though. Maybe a woman of color, but at least a woman vice president.
We all need a woman.
Well, this is true. This is a good point. But, then we would have pictures everywhere of President Biden sniffing the vice president's hair or something. So I don't know if that's good for the country. By the way, something very interesting when I was listening to Bernie Sanders, did he sound a little off to you? Did he sound maybe a little sick or?
Well, he's probably bummed that he has to,
You think it's just an emotional thing?
Yeah, throw in the towel.
I'm not saying he has coronavirus or anything, but I wonder if his heart attack had more of an effect on him than he's willing to admit.
In other words, he is worn out.
He's worn out. And that heart attack did a number on him. Because when you listen to, and we're going to listen to a lot of what Bernie Sanders today, because I want to focus on what the legacy is of him. What has he left for politics in the future? Is this a repudiation of socialism for the future of the country, or is this just the beginning of his movement?
I don't have any crystal ball. My knee-jerk reaction would be a lot of young people are not going to vote now.
Really? So so Trump has a good chance of winning then?
Well, they're not going to vote for anybody. Yeah. So probably, yeah.
Because Democrats kind of depend on that.
I don't know how Biden can go out of his way and try and woo those people back into the camp.
Especially with the economy right now, it's because it's Biden. So let's go through some of what Bernie Sanders had to say. Well, there's a lot here, so we'll pause as we're going through it, as we do sometimes. Deep analysis here on Beyond Reason, because this is Orlando's Smart Talk Radio. Oh, yeah, we're going to dive right in.
A deep dive.
Yes. So here's some of what Bernie Sanders had to say. And before we start, there's one word he repeats over and over again. You'll catch it. Here it is.
The greatest obstacle to real social change has everything to do with the power of the corporate and political establishment to limit our vision as to what is possible and what we are entitled to as human beings. If we don't believe that we are entitled to health care as a human right, we will never achieve universal health care. If we don't believe that we are entitled to decent wages and working conditions,
I got it.
Millions of us will continue to live in poverty. If we don't believe that we are entitled to all of the education we require to fulfill our dreams, many of us will leave school saddled with huge debt or never get the education we need. If we don't believe that we are entitled to live in a world that has a clean environment and is not ravaged by climate change, we will continue to see more drought, floods, rising sea levels, and increasingly uninhabitable planet. If we don't believe that we are entitled to live in a world of justice, democracy,
you didn't get it by now,
without racism, sexism, homophobia, xenophobia, or religious bigotry, we will continue to have massive income and wealth inequality, prejudice and hatred, mass incarceration, terrified immigrants, and hundreds of thousands of Americans sleeping out on the streets in the richest country on earth. And focusing on that new vision for America is what our campaign has been about and what, in fact, we have accomplished.
Okay, pause right there for me. I mean, I don't have to tell you what the word was. He repeated over and over again. Go ahead, Tom. Just say it.
Entitled.
Entitled. If we don't believe we're entitled to this, if we don't believe we're entitled to that, then we don't have a future in this country. This is the biggest problem I have with socialists like Bernie Sanders. His people think they're entitled to things. And by entitled, they mean it should just exist because they're there. Because they're human, we should have all these things.
Because somebody else already has it, we should have it.
Exactly. But that's not how the world works. You're not entitled to something. In order for us to have health care and justice and prosperity and jobs, in order for us to have those things, it takes work. Work by the individual. You're not just entitled to it. You have to earn it. Society has to earn it, but you as an individual also have to earn it because it doesn't just appear out of nowhere. Magically, it has to be produced, created, and spread. And it doesn't happen just because some government bureaucrat says it does. So when you're entitled to something, that's their mindset, and it's absurd. That's why communism always fails. All right, let's continue on here.
Would deny that over the course of the past 5 years, our movement has won the ideological struggle. In so-called red states and blue states and purple states, a majority of the American people now understand that we must raise the minimum wage to at least $15 an hour. That we must guarantee health care as a right to all of our people. That we must transform our energy system away from fossil fuel, and that higher education must be available to all, regardless of income.
Okay, pause right there for me. The whole higher education system bothers me because it must be available to all. It will never be available to all. Even in European countries, it's limited to a lot of people because they can't just accept everyone. So it might not be based on income, but it's based on other things in order to get in. There's still achievement involved in some cases, which socialists never like. But there we go. It's his usual stuff. And doesn't he, am I wrong? Doesn't he sound a little sick?
He doesn't sound as forceful as normally.
He sounds a little hoarse.
He doesn't sound angry. I think
maybe that's what it is. Maybe he was, maybe it's just like you said, it's an emotional thing, but I don't know. I wonder if his health played a role in him dropping out today because he had that heart attack and that has an effect on someone, especially his age. Okay, let's continue on here.
It was long ago that people considered these ideas radical and fringe. Today, they are mainstream ideas, and many of them are already being implemented in cities and states across the country. That is what we have accomplished together.
Okay, pause right there. What do you think about that? He said, we have many of these things were radical, now they're mainstream. And even though they haven't been done on a national level, they're being done in cities and states. And this is what I worry about. Has he left a legacy here of socialism that even though he lost, his movement is not going to stop? Where does his movement lead?
They'll need another leader, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And if his measures are being adopted in cities across the country, 96% of those are probably Democratic cities. Let's see how they're doing in 2 years.
Yeah.
The other thing is, it's the old story of, as long as there's government-backed education loans, colleges will raise their tuition.
Right.
Now, if we were to have a universal monthly pay of, say, $2,000 for every American in the country, don't you think the landlord's going to want a cut of that?
Well, yeah, it's inflation. Well, it's a kind of a separate issue because a lot of people are pushing that now even more because of the coronavirus thing. Mm-hmm. And Bernie Sanders does talk about the coronavirus stuff in a little bit. But you make a really good point. This is two things that I think would happen if we had universal basic income. One, what you said, inflation. People would raise prices because they figure everyone has more money because they're getting it from the government.
Let me get my share. Yeah.
And there's no increase in productivity that's involved with that, just giving them money. So there's always inflation there. But the other thing that would happen, I guarantee you, is businesses would start decreasing pay because they're not going to want to pay you as much because you're getting money from the government.
Oh.
So the incentive for them to pay you more won't exist anymore.
So that could kill the $15 an hour movement.
Yeah, well, even if they pay them $15 an hour, they're going to cut their hours or something, or that's going to be all they do. Mm-hmm. They're not going to have an incentive to pay you as much because, well, you don't need as much. You're getting it from the government. If you want more, ask the government to give you more. That's how it works. All right, we got to take a break here, and we'll continue on with more of what Bernie Sanders had to say when he dropped out today. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee. We'll be right back.
Subscribe to the Beyond Reason podcast today on your Stitcher app and hear the voice of reason anytime.
Hey, it's Melissa Fox from Good Morning Orlando. Join me Thursday nights at 9 o'clock when I do my thing called Connection Show. It's relationship radio with a twist. We invite experts in the field to come and help us out with everything from relationship problems to health questions and more. Sponsored by Stages of Life Medical Institute in Longwood. Every Thursday night at 9 o'clock. Listen to the podcast on the iHeartRadio app. Search Connection Show.
As schools close and we embrace social distancing, parents everywhere are struggling to keep children healthy and occupied. Consistency and structure are calming during times of stress, especially for kids. At the Child Mind Institute, top experts are coming together to offer free guidance about how to effectively support our children's well-being and our own during this crisis. Visit childmind.org for resources, support, and daily Facebook Live sessions with child psychologists. childmind.org.
Message and data rates may apply.
If you're considering going back to school, ask yourself the following questions. Do you need the flexibility to take classes on your schedule? Do you have college credits you need transferred? Do you want to earn a quality degree from a world-renowned university? If you answered yes to any of these questions, Arizona State University is the perfect school for you. Arizona State University offers over 200 highly ranked degree programs 100% online. You'll learn the same degree as you would on campus from wherever you are on your schedule. Plus, ASU Online accepts most transfer credits. For information, text THINK to 35517. Learn for yourself why the Wall Street Journal ranks ASU 5th in the nation for producing the best qualified graduates, and why 88% of ASU grads are recruited within 90 days of graduation. Learn to grow, learn to succeed, and learn to thrive at Arizona State University. To learn more about ASU Online degrees, text THINK to 35517. That's THINK to 35517.
You're struggling with your mortgage. You think about it. You don't do anything but think about it.
What are we going to do if we lose the house? Where are we going to go?
At work.
I can't let anybody find out. I'm so embarrassed.
At dinner.
How can I tell the kids? It's going to wreck their lives.
And at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get through this. What's going to happen to us?
It's time to stop thinking. It's time to start dialing. Call 1-888-995-HOPE for a free government program that offers expert one-on-one advice about your mortgage options.
I'm all alone.
No, you're not. We've helped over 1 million homeowners, and we want to help you. And now there are more ways to help, but the program ends soon. Call 1-888-995-HOPE or visit makinghomeaffordable.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Treasury, HUD, and the Ad Council.
Broadcasting from the Mills Air Studios. For all your AC needs, go to millsair.com to schedule an appointment. Your voice of truth in a world of fake news. The On Reason Radio continues right now.
Don't forget, you can listen to WFLA when we do Beyond Reason on your Google home device. To say, hey, Google, play News Radio WFLA Orlando. And every time I do that, my phone tries to do it on the air. Every single time I do that promo. Later on in the show, I am going to talk a little bit more about coronavirus and the effect it is having on the economy, which I'm going to give you some numbers that to me are stunning. We've all heard the unemployment numbers and certain things, but I still don't know if this is real yet to a lot of people out there, other than the people that have lost their jobs. But it is stunning when you see the effect that this is already having on the economy. So we'll get to that in a moment, but we're going through the fact. Oh, by the way, I will end the show with something that made Yaffee Laffee. So you got to listen to the whole show. We're going through Bernie Sanders and what he said when he suspended. Now there's that word again, suspended. Maybe he'll come back. Suspended his campaign for president. He said the word entitled a lot. I asked the question whether he's leaving a legacy of socialism in this country. Hopefully not, but we'll find out. You know, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, he was probably the most radical president up to that time. And he did leave a legacy of big government, but at least the president shortly after him, Eisenhower, was there to stop it, a lot of things. You know, he didn't get rid of things, but he did kind of stop that growth. So luckily, Trump has been there to stop it, and hopefully in the future, there will be someone like an Eisenhower. And I'm not saying Eisenhower is the best conservative president or anything, but he was someone who was at least there to kind of put a lot of that on hold because the government was just growing and growing and growing. But let's listen more to what Bernie Sanders had to say. Here it is.
In terms of healthcare, even before this horrific pandemic we are now experiencing, more and more Americans understood that we must move to a Medicare for all single-payer program. During the primary elections, exit polls showed in state after state, a strong majority of Democratic primary voters supported a single government health insurance program to replace private insurance. That was true even in states where our campaign did not prevail.
Yeah, until they realized how much it cost. I just wanted to point that out.
Well, the thing is, look how unhappy people are with the government pandemic situation. You think it's going to get better?
The CDC failed. The CDC, a part of the government, failed. Let's have more government in our healthcare. The private sector is the one actually bailing out the CDC by creating these tests.
We'll do it right the next time.
Exactly. Ridiculous. Continue on, Tom Benson.
Let me just say this. In terms of healthcare, this current horrific crisis that we are now in has exposed for all to see how absurd our current employer-based health insurance system is. The current economic downturn we are experiencing has not only led to a massive loss of jobs, but has also resulted in millions of Americans losing their health insurance.
Okay, stop right there. For one, the reason why we've lost a massive amount of jobs is because of government control and forcing those jobs out of business.
Amen.
But he also talked about the fact that, this is exposing the absurdity of how we do healthcare in this country. You know who's having a real problem right now keeping up with the healthcare in their countries? Italy, Spain, some other European countries. They have nationalized healthcare there as well. They have universal health care. To act like universal health care is what really could have got us through this crisis doesn't make any sense. In fact, the U.S., even though we've had a lot of deaths, and most of it's because of the problems in New York, we've been able to keep up a lot better than we thought. I just find that interesting. The other thing is they always talk about employer-based healthcare. Well, why do we have employer-based healthcare? I know some of you listening know this because you're students of history, but I'll tell people who don't know it. The reason why we have employer-based healthcare is because during World War II, they put wage controls on a lot of businesses. Yes, government wage controls.
And who was president then?
FDR, who I mentioned earlier. They put wage controls on businesses. So what did businesses do? Well, to encourage more people to want to work for them, they couldn't offer them higher pay because that was banned from the government. So they offered them benefits like health care. And that's what started the precedent of employer-based healthcare. I would love to go away from employer-based healthcare and have more individual-based healthcare like we do with auto insurance. But let's not forget how it got there in the first place. Unintended consequences from government action. All right, continue on here.
While Americans have been told over and over again how wonderful our employer-based private insurance system is, those claims sound very hollow today as a growing number of unemployed workers struggle with how they can afford to go to the doctor or not go bankrupt with a huge hospital bill. We have always believed that healthcare must be considered as a human right, not an employee benefit, and we are right. Please also appreciate that not only are we winning the struggle ideologically, we are also winning it generationally. The future of our country rests with young people. And in state after state, whether we won or whether we lost, the Democratic primaries or caucuses, we received a significant majority of the votes, sometimes an overwhelming majority, from people not only 30 years of age or under, but 50 years of age or younger.
Stop right there. Unfortunately, he makes a really good point here. Young people do buy into this, and what really worries me, and I'm going to get into this more in the next segment.
I got a rebuttal on this, by the way. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll let you do it. I got a good point.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just kidding. The thing is, this coronavirus pandemic and the shutdown of the economy, it's affecting jobs of young people probably more than any other part of the economy. And he's right. There's going to be, even because of that, they're going to believe capitalism failed them, which it didn't fail them. But they're going to buy into more Bernie Sanders type logic and believe it's the government's job to save them. But, well, go ahead with your rebuttal real quick. Then I have one more point, then we'll take a break.
I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for everybody. But when you're younger, you're more idealistic. As you grow older and go through the hard knocks of life, you change your outlook on plenty of things.
Well, the old saying is, if you're young and a Republican, you have no heart. If you're old and a Democrat, you have no brain. So that's usually how it goes. Here's Bernie Sanders and the socialist movement biggest flaw, though. The black vote. And I've said this before. I am not convinced that a lot of African Americans want socialism in this country. African Americans in this country right now are finally entering the upper middle classes. Generations who didn't get to have that before, they're finally seeing the benefits of capitalism, which they deserve to see. And I don't think they want to move towards socialism. I don't think they want to move towards government control. I think the black vote is a big opportunity for Republicans if they can stay conservative capitalists. And some Republicans are not doing that right now, unfortunately. But I think Republicans have a big opportunity to get the black vote for that reason, because black voters did not vote in large numbers, for the most part, for Bernie Sanders. And I think that's a big reason why. I really do believe that. That's enough of Bernie Sanders. We're going to move on to coronavirus stuff in just a moment. I have to tell you some of these stats about how it's affecting the economy. It's not good. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee. We'll be right back.
If you like Beyond Reason Radio, well, make sure to show it by liking the Facebook page at facebook.com/Beyond Reason Radio.
It's times like these that remind us of what's most important in life, our loved ones and our families. At International Diamond Center, we understand this, and we want you to know our family is here for you. Right now, IDC is open. We've taken extreme steps to make sure our showrooms are properly sanitized. We're offering assistance through our website, text, and email, and we're providing special financing up to 60 months on any purchases for those who need it. Also, IDC is here to help you with your short-term cash needs. We are licensed to offer discreet low-interest loans. We have both jewelry and coin experts on staff to assess your items and make loans fast and easy with no financial underwriting required. As we all look forward to better days ahead, your friends at International Diamond Center urge you to stay cautious and courageous. And most importantly, take this time to give thanks for those you love. International Diamond Center, online at shopidc.com.
No more fake news. No more negativity. No more groupthink. It's time for the new media revolution. Join me, David Gronowski, tonight at 8 for A Neighbor's Choice on News Radio WFLA Orlando.
Imagine being denied an apartment because of your religion or your race, or because you have children or a disability.
It's so wrong.
Yes, but who has the power to stop this?
You do. Each of us has the power. The law is on your side. It's illegal for landlords to discriminate because of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, or familial status. If you suspect that you have experienced housing discrimination, file a complaint with HUD immediately so we can investigate it. Fair housing is your right.
Use it.
To learn more, visit hud.gov/fairhousing. That's hud.gov/fairhousing. Or call 1-800-669-9777. 1-800-669-9777. A public service message from HUD in partnership with the National Fair Housing Alliance.
What does freedom of speech mean to me?
I don't know. I've never really thought about it.
Speak out against the majority.
It means I can express my opinion freely.
It's the American dream.
It's the First Amendment. It means everyone has a voice.
I guess freedom of speech is more than a right. It's a responsibility.
A message from the National Association of Broadcasters Education Foundation and the station.
Hi, this is Melissa Fox from Good Morning Orlando. $1,000 could be yours just for listening to News Radio WFLA Orlando. Just listen weekdays from 6 a.m. through 9 p.m. every hour for the keyword to text, and you could win your share of over $600,000. This is the biggest cash giveaway in Orlando. What would you do with $1,000? Just listen, and we'll help pay your bills.
Your safe space for conservative thought, not for political correctness. Yaffee is back right now.
So before we get into coronavirus thing, I do have to rebut one thing that Bernie Sanders always says.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about the growing income inequality and how the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. Well, there's an interesting graph that you can find from the American Enterprise Institute, and it does say this. The percent of U.S. households with income between $35,000 and $100,000 did drop from 53% 1967 to 42% in 2016. So it actually has dropped, people in the middle class. But why did it drop? Because more Americans are moving up, not because more are getting poor. In fact, in 2016 dollars, 38% of the country in 1967 made less than $35,000 a year. In 2016, 30% of the country made less than $35,000 a year. That's in 2016 dollars. That means more people are entering the upper classes, not that more people are getting poorer. Things are getting better and have gotten better income-wise in this country. And that doesn't even go into how consumer goods are a lot cheaper than they used to be. So not only do they make more money, but they also can afford more goods because the goods are cheaper because of increase in productivity. So it just shows another thing that Bernie Sanders is wrong about. But I have to talk about looking into this coronavirus and how it has affected the economy, because I heard something on the newscast on the morning show today that just stunned me. I guess it shouldn't have stunned me, but it did. They were talking about Darden Restaurants, which is based out of Orlando. Darden Restaurants, the operator of Olive Garden and other restaurants, this is according to the Wall Street Journal, said Tuesday that comparable sales across its portfolio fell 39% the first 6 weeks of its current quarter. 39% it dropped. That is stunning in and of itself. But listen to this. That quarter ended in April 5th, ended a period that ended April 5th.
Okay.
Comparable sales were down at least 71%
after that,
each of the last 3 week-long periods. So part of that was in that quarter, but since the shutdowns, Darden Restaurants, even though they're still doing takeout and stuff, their sales went down 71%.
Sure.
How do these companies survive?
Because the quarantine rules got stricter and more widespread.
Exactly. That is, we know generally this is having an effect on the economy. But when you hear a number like that a big company like Olive Garden, that their sales in a matter of 3 weeks dropped 71%, they're having to furlough thousands of their employees now.
Absolutely.
They're not getting paid. This is the effect that these shutdowns are having on the economy. And I'm not hearing a solution on how we get out of this. That's just one example. Here's another example. AMC Theaters. The S&P Global downgraded last week AMC to CCC from B, but they're saying
that's a credit rating.
Yeah, the credit rating. But they're saying that the AMC theaters may never reopen due to credit score decline during the coronavirus. The nation's largest theater chain had been forced to close as part of a response to the pandemic. The company was already facing a deficit of more than $5 billion. Now, I've talked for years on this program why movie theaters are failing. Their prices were too high. I've been saying that. But they were finally moving to a subscription model, which I think was good.
Mm-hmm.
So there could be some creative destruction going on here, but this is happening too quickly. But here's the thing. They basically have, according to the wrap, AMC furloughed about 600 employees last week, including its CEO. But they've basically had to furlough, and there was more than that. And I had a stat here and I lost it, but they've had to furlough thousands of their employees across the country?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Because they're all shut down.
And you mentioned subscriptions. Well, the thing is, you can now get subscriptions directly into your house with those huge 65-inch TVs.
Yeah.
You know?
So it's changing, but you still have thousands of employees that have basically lost their job.
Absolutely.
Overnight.
Sure. Yeah.
And then you have this from the Los Angeles Times. Retail was already having problems, but more than 15,000 stores could permanently close this year. It's according to CoreSite Research. That's approaching double the amount of stores that big chains announced they would shutter last year. So they were already having a bad time, and now they're going to double how many stores get closed. Within 3 weeks, they're saying that all these are thousands of jobs that are not coming back.
Mm-hmm.
What's the solution here? Here's another one that's kind of stunning for me. This is from Vice.com. Almost a third of young people have lost their jobs so far. A third. As measures to slow the coronavirus pandemic lead to mass layoffs, people ages 18 to 34 are being disproportionately affected. A third of young people have lost their jobs because of this. 1834. An Axios Harris survey conducted through March 30th showed that 31% of respondents ages 18 to 34 had either been laid off or put on temporary leave because of the outbreak, compared with 22% of those 35 to 49 and 15% of those 50 to 64. What's going to happen when all those young people no longer can find work because of this? They're going to run to socialism because they're going to believe capitalism failed them, even though capitalism was not failing them. This is all being shut down by the government. This is why I've been saying for weeks we have to have the conversation of how we get the economy open. I'm noticing more and more people saying we got to do something. This is unsustainable, especially since all the models keep changing every day. So it's really disturbing. But, you know, Kamala Harris, she was running for president out of California. She had suspended her campaign too. But she has an idea that can get us all to make things okay during this crisis here.
Bless her.
Yeah, it's just the perfect solution, yes. She announced it earlier this week. Here it is.
One of the things I'm focused on, and I'm proud to announce it on your show is I'm calling for a suspension of credit card interest, fees, and penalties. Because right now, there are people who are out of a job, who did not plan for this moment, and are going to be buying groceries with their credit cards. And those exorbitant fees that people are charged anyway, they should be suspended during the course of this pandemic. So I'm calling on a suspension of credit card fees and penalties and interest rate for the next 120 days, because people are not going to pay their bills on time. A lot of folks just are not. And at the end of this pandemic, it's going to be awful for them to be trying to get back on their feet, find a job, get back to that small business they were working for, and deal with these exorbitant fees. The other thing I'm calling on is to say that we should suspend negative reporting to credit scores. Because the other thing that's going to happen, again, people are not going to pay their bills on time. And then it's going to go on their credit score. It takes a lifetime for people to clean up their credit scores. And folks should be able to have as much as possible to get back on their feet after this pandemic.
So her idea is to suspend interest and fees and credit cards and to get rid of credit scores. Now, in the short term, I can understand some of that. But she said suspend it for 120 days. What do you think is going to happen after that, after the 120 days? What do you think the Democrats are going to call for after the 120 days? To make it longer, to continue this. Remember during the Great Recession, they extended unemployment benefits for a lot of people, and they extended food stamps, and they just kept doing it and doing it and doing it and extending it and extending it and extending it. That's going to happen. That's going to happen even after this is done.
Let's say they suspended all this for 4 months, 120 days. Say June.
Mm-hmm.
That gets you so much closer to the election.
Oh, yeah, good point. Yeah, extra cynical in there.
Who, me?
But so if they do that, think about what happens. You've radically transformed how basically credit works in this country. They're going to want to extend this. So what are credit cards going to do in response? Okay, they won't charge as much interest. If they can't charge fees, they can't do credit scores. What are they going to do? They're just going to deny more and more people. So you're going to have a lot more people in this country that don't have access to credit. Because the credit cards, the banks ought to make money. This is what I'm saying. All of this is collapsing on itself, and their solution is to, well, just suspend this and suspend that. You can't do that for extended periods of time. It just won't work. And so this is why we have to start figuring out a way to open up the economy again. We have to.
It has been done before, though. I can remember the whip inflation days of the 70s when a lot of banks, including the bank I had at the time on my home loan, gave us a grace month that we had to make no payment.
Yeah, well, and there are a lot of car companies and mortgage companies that are doing that right now.
And insurance companies are doing rebates because travel's down and accidents are down.
Mm-hmm. Wait until the Democrats say this is why we need to ban driving. That's coming, I'm telling you. But there is something I want to address here before we get the break. It has to do with something I talked about on a show last week. I mentioned stats about how pneumonia cases all of a sudden dropped.
Yeah, back in early February.
And some people were saying that's because they were being counted as COVID cases instead of pneumonia.
Right.
Well, apparently there are some stats that maybe prove that theory wrong. If you look at a chart of every CDC pneumonia report over time for the last 10 years, there is always a dip during that time of the year. And the reason why there's always a dip is it's the lag in reporting of deaths through the CDC. So I wanted to correct that. I always try to give you the facts on this show. There's a chance that that's not due to COVID. But there is an issue right now of how many of these deaths that are happening now are not really the result of them having the virus. And when you look at it, still the vast, vast majority of people who are dying and are hospitalized under this virus are either elderly or people with pre-existing conditions. The vast majority of them. So we have to think about, okay, how do we quarantine those people while starting to open up the rest of the economy? Because the destruction of the American economy will be a lot worse than this virus. I have something in the next segment. I'm going to go over it. Hulk Hogan actually had some words of wisdom, I thought. So I want to talk about that. Then something that made Yaffee Laffee. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee. We'll be right back.
Download the iHeartRadio app and catch the Beyond Reason Radio podcast.
Message and data rates may apply.
If you're considering going back to school, ask yourself the following questions. Do you need the flexibility to take classes on your schedule? Do you have college credits you need transferred? Do you want to earn a quality degree from a world-renowned university? If you answered yes to any of these questions, Arizona State University is the perfect school for you. Arizona State University offers over 200 highly ranked degree programs 100% online. You'll learn the same degree as you would on campus from wherever you are on your schedule. Plus, ASU Online accepts most transfer credits. For information, text THINK to 35517. Learn for yourself why the Wall Street Journal ranks ASU 5th in the nation for producing the best qualified graduates, and why 88% of ASU grads are recruited within 90 days of graduation. Learn to grow, learn to succeed, and learn to thrive at Arizona State University. To learn more about ASU Online degrees, text THINK to 35517. That's THINK to 35517.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Recently, I was reading to my grandsons and asked them if they were going to be lawyers when they grew up. As you may know, my wife and 3 sons all went to law school, and our lives have been this law firm from the time they were little boys. Now, all these years later, we've helped millions of people and their families. What started as a mom and pop law firm grew to be the largest injury firm in the world with offices all over America. And in those offices are lawyers we choose who do it our way every day. The results have been stunning. You can see our verdicts and results online. For me, the people and the families we've represented at their time of need has made a difference in my life as we've tried to make a difference in theirs. My grandsons informed me they were not going to be lawyers. I asked them what they planned to be. They told me dinosaurs. Give me some time to convince them otherwise. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com. Dial pound law on your cell. Pound law, that's all. Offices, Orlando.
When protecting your family becomes more important than you ever expected, Fence Outlet is there. Secure your family backyard and add value to your home.
Fence Outlet. For over 25 years, locally owned in Central Florida. We are moving Orlando forward by protecting our valued employees and your family with simple online appointments and no contact delivery. The time has never been better to take advantage of our lowest pricing and 0% financing for 12 months. We're waiting to help you today at fenceoutlet.com.
Coronavirus updates multiple times an hour. Every hour. News Radio WFLA Orlando. The place where we talk faith, culture, and politics. Beyond Reason Radio continues.
By the way, in the last segment, I was trying to look up stats on AMC theaters. They furloughed 600 of their corporate employees, but they say since early March, since they've closed, they've had to lay off or furlough approximately 26,000 people across the country. I mean, these are just anecdotal evidence, but when you put it all together, it's really stunning. Welcome back to the show. This is Beyond Reason Radio. We do talk faith, culture, and politics on the show, and someone who made a really good point on faith, believe it or not, this might be beyond reason in and of itself, makes an excellent point here. Hulk Hogan. Oh, yeah, brother. I was growing up, it was Hollywood Hogan when he was in the WCW, but that's a whole nother thing. So he put on a Facebook post, and I found it very provocative. Mm-hmm. So I want to read this. He said, in 3 short months, just like he did with the plagues of Egypt, God has taken away everything we worship. God said, you want to worship athletes? I will shut down the stadiums. You want to worship musicians? I will shut down civic centers. You want to worship actors? I will shut down theaters. You want to worship money? I will shut down the economy and collapse the stock market. You don't want to go to church and worship me? I will make it where you can't go to church. If my people are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. He says, maybe we don't need a vaccine. Maybe we need to take this time of isolation from the distractions of the world and have a personal revival where we focus on the only thing in the world that matters. And that's Jesus.
Boy, he's had a turnaround.
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I never really thought of it that way. I'm not one of these guys who says, this is God's punishment on you, because I'm not God.
Yeah.
I am not going to speak for God on that front. But I do think he makes an interesting point, how this could be an opportunity for people in this country to maybe really focus on what matters, because he's right. People in this country, they worship athletes, they worship musicians, they worship actors, they worship stuff and money and fame. And maybe this is a wake-up call that we should humble ourselves and focus on what really matters.
I saw a headline today that said, and I can't remember the source, so, take this with a grain of salt. Hollywood was going to go on strike until Trump was no longer president. And my first reaction was, wow, what a loss.
Yeah, I know. Seriously. Oh, boy. When you talk about all the theaters closing, that affects Hollywood, too.
Oh, sure.
They're going to be in trouble. They make a lot of their revenue from theater sales. So, but I thought I really liked his point that he made there. Hulk Hogan. It's funny when you hear random people you wouldn't think of make really good, provocative statements.
That came out of the blue.
Yeah, exactly right. All right. It is that time of the show once again. Oh, yes, something that made Yaffee Laffee. And today we had to go to the Babylon Bee. Of course, we haven't done that in a while.
Okay.
So for the Yaffee Laffee, here's the headline from the Babylon Bee. You'll like this, Tom Benson. Bernie tests negative for president.
I guess so.
Says from Burlington, Vermont, from one of his many sprawling homes, Bernie Sanders announced today that he has tested negative for president. Addressing concerned supporters, Sanders broke the news that medical professionals have informed him he is 100% negative for president. He said the test results came back and thankfully they were negative, Sanders said to his supporters. There wasn't even 1 in 1,024th of a trace of presidential material in me. I've been cleared to return to my usual shtick of ranting about billionaires. Although if I become a billionaire, I will switch to complaining about trillionaires. Curse you, billionaires, he added. Sanders said the results were a big relief as he can now continue to complain about the system without having to implement his terrible ideas. Great stuff. It was a close one. People were starting to take me seriously, and that had me worried. But now I can retire to my many homes in peace.
Yeah.
Aw, good luck. Good luck, Bernie Sanders.
The Babylon V. Love it.
I do love it. So that's pretty much it for the show today. I don't know if I have anything more to say. I think I've winded up. I am going to do another show tomorrow night. I will be back for another edition of Beyond Reason. Tom Benson will be here as well.
Yes.
We'll have to talk about what goes on. It was nice to actually do a lot of the show and not talk about coronavirus for once. With Bernie Sanders, I will thank him for one thing. He gave me
a topic.
Yeah. We could get back to the old socialism and bad economics and presidential politics stuff instead of focusing on, the destruction of the American economy and a pandemic that's killing thousands of people. So that was good stuff. Now we just have to see what happens with Cuomo and Biden and Trump and all of that stuff. And of course, the new controversy that Trump only wants the malaria drug because apparently he can make money off of it. It's like, man, they never stop with these conspiracies. I'm just telling you. I appreciate you listening to the show. If you miss any show, catch the podcast anywhere podcasts are available. You can like the Beyond Reason Radio Facebook page. You can follow me on Twitter at Michael Yaffee or send me a friend request on Facebook, and I will accept it. And, well, catch you guys next time.